going to be making a rag quilt. That is our project for this week. And we are first going to download your supply list and find out how many fabrics you need. You need 8 different fabrics, and you need 1 1/8 of each one. And then you're going to need some cotton batting also. I like the warm and natural, in case you're wondering. So you don't need to pre-wash your fabric. We're going to cut the selvages off, and you're going to square up one edge of it, and you know how to do that by now. What we're going to do is we're going to cut 4 strips of 9-inch fabric, and then you're going to cut that into 9-inch squares. So you'll have 16 of each fabric. You're going to have a total of 126 of the 9-inch squares. So I've already got all of mine cut out. You can see all this woven plaid fabric that I have. And you can also use scrap fabric, so you don't feel like you have to have exactly 8 of each one. You'll just need a total of 126 of them. Okay, so get that done next. And next, I'm going to show you a demonstration of cutting out the batting. That way you'll cut your material out the same way. So we'll do that next. Okay, next we are going to cut out our batting, and you'll do your material the same way except for the different size. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your selvage edges together, or your edges, and make sure all the wrinkles are out. You don't want any ripples or folds in this edge. And then you're going to put it on the grid lines on your mat and make sure that's even. And I've already squared up this edge so that you can tell that the piece underneath is right along that line. And we are going to cut these 6 3/4 inches. And my ruler is a 6-inch ruler, so I just have to go over 6 3/4. So I'll just put this little line here so I can know that I'm 3/4 inch past it. You can do it on both edges. And that way you know you've got your lines straight. Press down on the ruler. Go a little bit, move your fingers, go a little bit more. That way it doesn't slide around on you. Then we're going to go over 6 3/4 from that. So there's 6. You can kind of tell if you're on the half line mark next, it should be even. You can kind of tell on this side that's about 3/4 of an inch. So I want a half right there, and I want to go over. So now I'm going to be on the 1/4 inch mark on my lines. And you can take a little tape measure and make sure you have enough. Make sure it's exactly 6 3/4. It's very forgiving though, this quilt. There's 3/4 there, so I know I'm going to go on my line. Now I'm still going to need to do more, but I'm going to take my pieces, make sure all the edges are even. I'm going to put them on a mark. Make sure they're even and along the straight line. I'm going to do 2 at a time, which is really 4 layers. And then I'm going to cut them 6 3/4 this way. got to press down a little harder going this way because you're cutting 4 layers. Make sure that's cutting through all the way. Six and a quarter. That piece isn't wide enough, so I'm going to throw those away. Put these in stacks of 10. There's 8. That way you'll know when you have enough. So continue on and cut out 63 of these squares. Okay, for this next step, we're going to make a sandwich. Okay, for each sandwich, you're going to use the same fabric on the front as you do on the back. This way you don't have to check the back when you're laying out your squares to make sure you don't have identical fabrics right beside each other. So this is the right side. We're going to place it down, face down. Then we're going to grab one of our little cotton battings and you're just going to center it. Just eyeball it the best you can on there. Then we're going to take the same fabric and it's going to be face down. No, face up. That way you have wrong sides together. Just make sure all the edges are even. Then you're going to pin it. Kind of pin it where it's catching that batting in between there. Then next we're going to take it to the machine and we're going to sew a diagonal line this way and a diagonal line this way. Looks like my corners are off here, so I'm just going to square it up, make sure it's all even. This is a very forgiving quilt though, so once you rag those edges, you won't be able to see those uneven spots. So you can either pin all of these at once and then just sew them back to back, or you can just do one at a time and pin it. Now you can just eyeball it on your machine. You're just making an X in here. Or you can take a friction pin and mark it. So you could just take one piece of each of your fabrics and then just go from corner to corner. You can use a marking pen, or you can use a pencil or a pen. And then you can see your lines on there. So whichever way is easier for you, you can mark them, or you can just eyeball it. Okay, let's go to the sewing machine. There's a lot of these fabrics you may not even be able to tell the front from the back, so that's all right. Just keep going. Got that first one through there. Remember, you're going to have the right side facing out on both sides. And what I'm going to do is chain stitch these. So I have my stitch length at 2.0. And I'm just gonna keep sewing. If you're eyeballing it, you can just kind of hold it up and aim towards that edge. Now you can either have a contrasting thread or a matching thread. Since this is kind of all earth tones, I chose a brown thread to use. Just make sure you clean up your sewing machine first and get it in good working order. The size of needle I'm using is a 14 universal needle. Now when you get to the edge of that one, you're going to be ready to just start another one. Then you can just feed them through there till you're all the way through all 63 of them. Just be mindful about right sides are both facing out, so wrong sides are together. And just let them fall back behind there. Alrighty, got through all 63 of those going down one side. So now you need to, if you chain stitch like I did, you need to clip all your threads and just make a stack. Keep all the lines going the same way. That way, when we're ready, we're just going to take it and go down the opposite direction to make an X in the middle. Hey guys, look how big my stack is. Okay, we're ready. We've got this one diagonal line on one side. Now what we're going to do is go through every one of them and go the other way. So just tilt it to where you can just grab one off and put it under the machine and go. My stitch length is still on 2.0, and I did have to wind another bobbin, so keep an eye on that. And you really don't need to pin this time, just kind of make sure that one corner's even. Then when you get to the middle, you're just going to make sure that other corner's even. And go ahead and chain stitch them like we did before. On these squares, when you're going through the center like this, that's the bias of the fabric, and that's stretchy. So when you're pulling this other corner here to get it straight, don't stretch it because it'll stretch out your fabric. Okay, once you have all of your blocks done, what you want to do is lay them out on the floor or on a table, somewhere where you have room. And if you'll notice, you can see that I haven't got any of the same blocks, the materials side by side. I kind of tried to move them out. Y'all tell me if there is, I don't know. Anyway, you want your seams on the outside. The seams are going to be on the front, like so, like this. And then that's where you're going to rag your seams. So you're going to want them up like that. And so I like to sew mine together by columns instead of rows. So what I'm going to do, I know that's where I'm going to take that 1-inch seam. So I'll just go down each side where those seams are going to be together. I like to put a little clip in there so you know that those two go together. And I'll know that's my top. The top row. All right, we're ready to sew our 1-inch seams, and we're just going to do a block at a time on that first and second column. And we're just going to do one column, well, the 2 columns at one time, and then we'll go get the next stack and do it so we can keep up with where it goes on the quilt. So you're just going to take your top 2, and you're going to be going through several layers here, but it shouldn't catch the batting that's inside there. So just take that clip off. Gonna line them up. And you want to make sure you take 1-inch seams. I have this little magnetic piece that I put on my 1-inch mark. I did have to move my needle over to the left a little bit to get it to the 1-inch mark that's on my throat plate. But I'm just going to place this here to help me guide along it. We're just going to chain these pieces together. Check your stitch before you start on all these. Just be sure to keep all your raw edges even on that side. Okay, just leave all the thread attached from one block to the other and then go lay it back out like you had it, and then start on your second row and chain stitch it. Okay, you've got rows 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 done. And so you might want to press your seams open. You will need to do that, but you won't really need to do it yet. So what we're going to do is attach these first two to 3 and 4. And so we're going to take it and flip it up like we did before, and then we're going to stitch all of these down in a row. And I still have them connected here between each other, and that'll just keep them in order for you. Okay, let's go sew. Okay, so I had clipped together rows 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you can tell I've got them like this. You just want to make sure all your seams are on the outside. So I'm going to chain stitch these 4 rows together. It's the first 4 rows. Just keep your raw edges even. First 4 rows done. Okay, we're gonna go lay these out and get ready for the last rows 5, 6, and 7. Next, you want to press all the seams open, and then you're gonna attach those last 3 blocks to the first 4 blocks. And then you'll press that seam open and we'll be ready to put the rows together. Okay, y'all, I'm down in the floor again. I've got my quilt all laid out. I've got all the rows together. And so now I'm gonna start combining the rows. And you've got this all pressed. You've got all the seams pressed open. And you're gonna start putting them together because you want all of your seams on the front side. So what we're gonna do is just take, we've got all of our rows separate, but I've still got them chained together. So we're gonna start matching the seams up, and we will do this better while we're at our sewing machine. We'll take these clips out and match them up to where the seams are exactly together. And you're just going to do a row at a time. So just kind of get close while you're pinning it. And then we'll take it over to our machine. And then we're just going to stitch it all up. But for now, you know it's still like you have it laid out. So you can just start pinning it together. And then we're going to take it over and start sewing it together. Okay, I've kind of folded all of my rows up, and I put a little table here beside me for the rest of the quilt to lay on. I've got it all wadded up over here, and I'm gonna sew it with all the clips on the top so that those little clips don't get caught on the edge of the table or on the edge of anything. So I'm starting on the bottom, on the very bottom row, and I've just turned under one edge, one row, and that's where I'm gonna start. Hopefully this will glide through here good. So I'll just start, and remember you're making 1-inch seams, and I'm still using the 2.5 stitch length. And just going to chain all the way across each row. I'll do this first whole row so you can kind of see how it's going to go, and then I'll go ahead and start on the next row here by folding this under. So I'm going to sew a little ways. You want to make sure your raw edges are even. And then you may have to kind of move your quilt as you go. I'm going to take this first clip out, and you can kind of see that's trying to curve under right there. So you're going to want to make sure all those seams are opened, and it's going to be a lot easier to trim that way. So I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to match the seams. And I'll just hold that pretty tight where those seams are going to meet. And your material might try to jump around a little bit because my presser foot's going over that cotton batting in there. So make sure your edges are all even. So about halfway, take that clip out. See, it's trying to curve under again. Just gonna wanna open that up under there every time. You're gonna make sure you're opened, that seam line is on top of each other. And then if you press down while you're sewing, that underneath seam will stay open. Hopefully. Okay, now I might need to move my quilt up just a little bit to keep that straight. At least there's only 7 blocks to go across. So just make sure that seam matches, hold it down. Okay, got our bottom row done. And then I'm just gonna check and make sure that that seam is on the outside where the other seams are on the outside. And you can kind of check the back to make sure that your seam lines are hitting good. Looks like they're doing all right. Okay, now for this next row, I'm gonna take it, pull it back. And we're gonna take our first 2 rows, kind of straighten that out. I think I forgot to turn my light on so y'all could see better. Okay, so there's that row. Now we're gonna do this row next. So I'm going to take it and fold those 2 rows under, and we'll start on this one next. You just want to make sure that you're not getting any of the rest of the quilt in there. If you are, just unfold it a little bit more. And we'll go to town sewing the rest of our rows. And just another little note to add, if you're having trouble matching your seams up, just clip that little chain stitch there, and then it's easier. Open your seam on the bottom and open your seam on the top, and it's a lot easier to match them up. And you can clip it again, or you can just hold it down with your finger and keep going. You might also want to make sure your quilt is going through straight, or it'll try to start curving on you. Next row. Okay, as you can see, we've got all of our seams done all the way on every row and every column. And next, you'll notice that all the edges are still open. So you have that batting. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna start at one end and we're gonna sew 1 inch all the way around the whole quilt. As you're going, you want to open up your seams and sew over those. Okay, let's get to sewing. And be mindful of if you have enough thread in your bobbin. Mine's really low, so I'm going to stop occasionally and check and make sure I still have bobbin thread. You'd hate to get around the whole thing and realize it ran out halfway around. And y'all just keep your fingers out of the way when you're pushing this through here. I'm just going to stop about 1 inch from the end, turn my quilt, go down the rest of the sides. And if you haven't pressed the seams open for the way you went, just open them as you go. It helps to have a table out beside of you to hold the weight of the quilt up. Just keep moving it up as you go along, opening those seams. Keeping your raw edges even. Oh, ran out of bobbin. Time to change it. Okay, we are ready to rag the quilt. If you're ready to rag it, which means fringing it out, I found it way easier when I got the ragging scissors. They worked so much better because your hand will get so tired if you use a little pair of scissors. So what you want to do, you want to be sure not to cut into your seams. That's the most first important thing. So you want to cut right up to them, but stop short of the seam. So this is what creates that fringe. And you're going to clip as close as possible, and you're going to cut parallel to the seam. Okay, not like this. Parallel to the seams. And you're going to clip each seam on the whole quilt, horizontal and vertical. And we're also going to clip all the edges. So I'm just going to do a few here to show you. You want to clip about every 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Just eyeball it. So let's get started here. So get right up to it. Do another row up here because the seams where they're already sewn down. So this one that's already opened and seamed over, I'm just going to cut really close to the seam on both sides of that seam. Now you can keep going all the way down the whole thing and keep moving your quilt, or you can just do every other one and get started that way. After you've got that done, you're going to turn and you're going to do all the seams this way. So you're going to do it on both sides because we have those seams pressed open. But it's easier to cut through 2 instead of, you could cut through all 4 like this if it's a spot where the seams are laying good. So you could cut through all 4, but I found it goes a lot faster if you just cut 2 at a time. All right. This will take a while. Go put on a good movie or turn on some Amazon music and listen to Casting Crowns. That's my favorite. Have fun. One thing before we close, after you get it ragged out all the way around it, every seam, you want to wash it and dry it. If you don't have a washer with a lint trap, or if you're on a septic tank system, you may want to consider washing it at a coin-operated laundromat. And you just want to wash and dry it. And just keep doing that until you have the results that you want. Because it'll just look like this till you get it washed and dried, and then it'll start fringing. Okay. I appreciate you guys watching, and please share your finished quilts with me. Okay? Thanks.